The Sustainability Summit is a platform for business leaders to share success stories and studies, especially in the case of public-private partnerships. The summit for this year will be running the Green Pitch competition for entrepreneurs towards the end of September. And this year's summit is under the theme, The Tipping Point, and the event will address issues such as global sustainable development, skills, IoT, and leadership. CEO of Black Canvas Innovations and the chairman of the summit is Raldu Nel, who's with me to discuss the upcoming summit. And we will be talking about some of the concepts that they will be focusing on. Raldu, pleasure to have you with us.
Tim, thank you very much for the opportunity to be on the show, and I look forward to our conversation.
Sure. Sustainable or Sustainability Summit, it's been in existence for 5 years. What have you been trying to achieve over this period of time?
Essentially, the Sustainability Summit was inspired by a vision where we believe, as yourselves, that Africa is the continent of choice and that we as Africans should be working together towards sustainable development. So what we've done is we've actually aligned the goals of the Sustainability Summit to the International Sustainable Development Goals. We've certainly looked at how the National Development Plan is actually enabling and implementing those goals for South Africa, but then certainly working across Africa. So the purpose of the summit is to bring these leaders together in a trusted environment and then actually focus these partnerships around inclusiveness and around sustainable development. So that would mean bringing the public-private partnerships together across industry, but then also this year that is new is the SMME initiative, which we call the Green Pitch, where entrepreneurs are invited to actually pitch their new thinking around the green economy, new technologies, new products and services that are stimulating and implementing the green and the blue economy.
But Raldu, here's the point. People will tell you business is about the bottom line, right? If you can tell me how much money we're going to make, then that's business. Sustainable will complicate things. That people do whatever is needed there and then. Just differentiate it from, let's call it the old way of thinking about business to this new, constructive, hopefully, and progressive way of thinking.
Absolutely. Tim, thanks for that question. I think many companies used to grapple with it. The thinking around the triple bottom line has actually helped the discussion along quite well, where the focus has moved from traditional economic focus in the business, just around the economy, towards more of an inclusive focus, which includes social and also the environmental aspects. So the latest thinking on that is called the 6 capitals model, which really focuses on the financial capital, it focuses on human capital, social capital, intellectual capital. It will go into environmental capital as well. So it really gives you a much broader look at your organization or at your value chain. And based on this model, you can actually confirm that you're making a net positive contribution to industry, to society when you are in business. I mean, you are certainly turning the economy in partnership, but you are creating jobs, you are creating skills, you're creating intellectual property, which is certainly differentiating South Africa in the African and global markets.
In the South African context, and given your experience in hosting the summit for some time, are there useful instances, case studies that you can refer to that help illustrate this whole scenario that we're talking about?
Sure. I think that there are many case studies that get shared as part of the Sustainability Summit. They are normally across industry. Good examples that were shared last year was all around the renewable energy initiative in our country, where we had a crisis as a nation. We've put our heads together in public-private partnership, and now it's actually a global case study towards energy security. And it just demonstrates that as South Africans, if we do focus, we can actually make a big difference. So the essence around the summit this year is to focus around high-performance leadership. And if you consider where we are in the country, we definitely need some focus there. We've got great leaders, we just don't necessarily have them in the right positions.
Okay.
We've got further focus around business model innovation, which is certainly stimulated through the green economy as well as the inclusive side. And then we believe that entrepreneurs or corporate business or even government require toolkits for step change. So a toolkit is something that is fit for purpose, like a screwdriver. You can use innovation, creativity, design, or systems thinking in the right way and actually bring about a step change. And that's what we drive.
I want to pick up on the first point you made, and that is performance leadership that you mentioned. Just define it for me, and what difference will that performance leadership make?
Sure. High performance leadership is really a leadership style where the leader leads by setting an example. The leader leads by co-creating a strategy with their team. A leader would lead an innovation management ecosystem where team members are allowed to experiment, come up with new ideas. So it's really all about inclusiveness, but not just in your own organization, actually across the value chain. So this is referred to commonly as virtual partnerships. So if, for example, you're a retailer, you look at your entire value chain that is actually supplying you, and you partner with these guys in a trusted way. So it means that you're more transparent, you're more open around your margins, you collaborate around your enterprise and supply development projects, you collaborate around creating entrepreneurs that could be supplying you as well as your competition in the future. So those are examples.
Here's a problem for you. In the South African context, the economy is not growing at this time, and the ideal that is that it should. Opportunities are limited. When you talk about employment, it's the same number. Probably unemployment is growing. We've got challenges of poverty. Yet, those who make money make a lot of money from a distance, when you look at things. But whatever money is being made does not seem to transform anything in our society. Why is that, do you think?
Good question, Tim. I think that there is a lot of history. And normally when we refer either to the current reality or to the history, we refer to the good, the bad, and the ugly. So I think in our country we have a good share as any country around those. Essentially, I think that there's a new initiative which drives to revitalize the township economy and actually assisting with formalizing it and bringing these two economy streams a little bit closer to each other. So on both day one as well as on day two, we have a very strong focus of bridging between the traditional formal economy and actually looking at bringing the informal economy, which is just as strong, it's just not as well understood or well regulated. And it's really just bringing that bridge, building the bridge to bring those two together. So to your question around why we are not growing, I think one of the key reasons for that is certainly global economic situation. But if we look closer to home, it is most probably that we do need to work on the trust aspect so that we as a nation trust each other, we trust fellow Africans, we know each other, and then we do business together.
I'm personally very concerned about that, for instance, we need the growth, we agree, but it does not mean that there's no growth. The big organizations continue to grow,
sure,
but it's as if maybe it's not of their doing, but they grow at the expense of the smaller, medium-sized businesses, which in the main would be the ones that create employment after all,
sure,
compared to the big ones.
Absolutely.
And therefore, you don't feel the effect of the growth of those big companies on the emerging businesses.
Correct.
A few ideas that you can share with us. How do we make sure that partnership can be created between the strong and big and multinational cross-border type companies and the ones that are trying to emerge?
Just two things that comes top of mind. And again, these big multinational organizations that you're referring to, they all need to comply to local standards, GRI reporting, and then also to the enterprise and supply development BEE codes. Those codes are actually encouraging organizations to spend 3% of their net profit after tax doing enterprise and supply development. So I think traditionally those funds were not as well spent as they potentially could be spent. So there's a number of case studies where industries are actually collaborating around enterprise and supply development funds. So they create a central fund, and in that way the fund actually ensures that there's impact in terms of developing the economy, developing skills, and then also developing local supply. So part of multinational company strategies today would be global sourcing, but at the same time there's a strong emphasis in South Africa on local sourcing. So proudly South Africans support local, stimulate the economy, and again, if you can line up strong suppliers that are sustainable and potentially creating them so that they could also supply other companies in industry, that's certainly the way to go.
Well, let's talk about the green pitch that's going to happen. What is the story there? Who should apply, and what do you get to win? How is the whole process going to happen?
Certainly. Tim, just top of mind, the essence here is we're looking for the top entrepreneurs out of Africa that's got thinking around the green economy and also the inclusive economy. So essentially coming up with new products and services, making things greener, making things more environmentally sustainable, even rehabilitating the environment, turning, for example, waste to energy, recycling, designing products in a new way so that you're actually designing with recycling in mind. So we're looking for green economy ideas. And again, these entrepreneurs would be required to demonstrate based on the 6 capitals model by filling out a business case that they're making a net positive contribution. So if, for example, I develop solar panels, you would need to tell us a little bit about your manufacturing process, the fact that you're deploying this in the rural economy, how many of those have you done, what is your future plans?
Well, what is the incentive though? What
you see, there are really a number of incentives. I think the first one is just creating more market awareness around what you're doing. You do have access to the wisdom board structure that guides the Sustainability Summit, which is really across industry and also includes the green economy side of the government, as well as the Department of Environmental Affairs. So you have access to very strong coaches to your business through this structure. You also have access to some incubation programs. So Standard Bank Incubator is partnering around the Sustainability Summit this year. And then there are a number of other incubators that are also collaborating with us. So the essence is stimulating collaboration between the incubators, giving the entrepreneurs access to those incubators, and then assisting them really to redefine or even reposition or better position their organizations, but at the same time also potentially giving them access to contracts or funding.
And how do you apply?
You can apply online via the Blank Canvas International website. The website is blankcanvas.coza.
Yeah.
So you can just go online, look for the Sustainability Summit, and then when you click through to day 2 on the SMME Green Pitch logo, you should be able to fill in the entry form.
And the event itself, the summit is on there?
It's on the 27th as well as the 28th of September. It's at the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, and again in collaboration with the JSE. It links very well to the Sustainable Reporting Index, the SRI, as well as the global reporting standards. So day 1 is the public-private partnership focus, so a high level of business, resilient business performance at work. And then day 2 is all around entrepreneurship, and there's a clear link between the 2 days for collaboration.
All right, in support of the Sustainable Summit, we will be interviewing your winners on the show.
Wonderful.
So as soon as you've done the whole story of listening to the pitches and interacting with them, please let them come and share their experience with us here. But otherwise, good luck. And
fantastic,
this is happening.
Thank you very much.
27th and 28th of September, you
That's
said, right? And this is at the Johannesburg Stock Exchange here in Johannesburg. I was talking to the chairman of the summit and the CEO of Black Canvas Innovations, Raldu Nel. Thanks again for sharing this information with us.
Thank you.